Welcome to the Home Like Stories channel. Don't forget to subscribe, it will be interesting. And we begin.
Camping had always been my way of escaping the monotony of everyday life. The endless grind, the suffocating city, the weight of responsibilities, it all melted away in the quiet embrace of the wilderness. That's why, when my friends suggested a weekend trip to Whispering Pines, I jumped at the chance. The campsite was nestled deep in a forest an hour's drive from the nearest town. The road leading there was a twisting, narrow path flanked by towering trees that seemed to close in as we drove. It was the kind of place where cell service was non-existent, and the air smelled of pine and damp earth. It was late afternoon when we arrived. The sunlight filtered through the dense canopy, casting dappled patterns on the ground. Rachel, Greg, Tyler, and I set up camp near a small clearing, close to a shallow creek. The place was serene, almost too perfect. As the sun dipped below the horizon, we gathered around the fire, laughing and sharing stories. The night was calm, the kind of silence you only find far from civilization. But as the hours passed, that silence began to feel oppressive. The crackle of the fire seemed too loud, our laughter too harsh against the stillness. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath. I woke up to the sound of whispers. Faint, almost imperceptible, they seemed to drift through the trees like the wind carrying someone's conversation. At first, I thought it was Rachel or Greg talking in their tent, but when I strained to listen, the voices didn't belong to any of us. I unzipped my tent cautiously, stepping out into the cool night air. The fire had died down to glowing embers, casting faint shadows. The whispering continued, growing louder the closer I got to the edge of the clearing. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. There was no answer, just a low, murmuring sound. It was impossible to tell where it was coming from. It seemed to weave through the trees, surrounding me. I scanned the woods with my flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating the dense underbrush. For a moment, I thought I saw movement, a shadow darting between the trees. My heart pounded in my chest. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the whispering stopped. The forest was silent again. I stood there for what felt like an eternity before retreating to my tent, convincing myself it was just my imagination. The next morning, I mentioned the whispers to the group. "Probably just the wind," Tyler said, dismissing it with a wave of his hand. "This place can mess with your head." Rachel, however, looked uneasy. "I thought I heard something too," she admitted. We decided to go for a hike to shake off the weird vibes. The trail led us deeper into the forest, where the light grew dimmer and the air colder. After about an hour, we stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood an old stone well, its edges crumbling with age. Surrounding it were dozens of small wooden carvings, crude humanoid shapes hanging from the trees. "What the hell is this?" Greg muttered, stepping closer. Tyler peered into the well. "It's dry," he said, but his voice echoed unnaturally, as if the well went deeper than it appeared. Rachel grabbed my arm. "Let's go back. This place gives me the creeps." We agreed, but the unease lingered as we made our way back to camp. That night, the whispers returned. This time, they were louder, clearer. It wasn't just me who heard them, everyone did. The voices spoke in a language none of us could understand, their tones rising and falling in a chilling rhythm. Suddenly, the fire flared up, its flames roaring unnaturally high. Shadows danced around us, twisting and contorting as if alive. Greg jumped to his feet. "We need to leave. Now." As we scrambled to gather our belongings, the shadows seemed to converge, forming shapes, tall, gaunt figures with glowing eyes. They surrounded the clearing, watching us. "Don't look at them," Rachel screamed. We abandoned our gear and ran into the woods, the whispering growing louder with each step. It felt like the forest itself was alive, closing in around us. Eventually, we burst out onto the main road, gasping for breath. The whispers had stopped, but the memory of those glowing eyes lingered. We didn't go back for our gear. The park ranger later told us that Whispering Pines had a history, strange disappearances, unexplained phenomena. We told him we got lost, leaving out the details. To this day, I can't explain what happened. But sometimes, late at night, when the wind is just right, I think I hear the whispers again, faint and distant, calling me back to the forest.
Thanks for watching and listening. Don't forget to subscribe.